Okay, welcome everyone to our Monday night team call, all about social media and just navigating how we can use social media for our branding and engagement with our prospects and our customers and beyond. And so I'm going to hand it over to the Casey Elmore to introduce our first speaker.
Hello, everybody. I am super pumped to get on here tonight and get to introduce our guest speaker. It is an honor, and he may not realize it, but I look up to him so much and I respect him so much. So I am honored to get to introduce him. So the speaker tonight is none other than the infamous Caleb Thorpe, my brother, my younger brother. He is the baby of our family, but he is not living life like a baby. He's killing it out in Los Angeles. And so a little bit about him. He spent the last 4 years in the social media world, jumping between agency work and freelance, and now he's the managing partner of a boutique social media content creating agency within the LA area. And alongside that, he's also the creative director at a martial arts school, overseeing all the creative production, marketing endeavors, business development strategies, social media content, and paid ad campaigns, among other things. And I've personally just witnessed him grow so much. He moved out to LA a few years ago, and it is truly, I knew he was so good in terms of the social media game and website development and all the things. But moving out to LA, he has just exploded what he's doing. He's so knowledgeable. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, bro.
All right, thank you. I'm Caleb. As she said, this my sister. I just want to talk to you guys. I was asked to kind of like help fill in some blanks on social media and how to traverse the landscape that is this insane monster of a 2018 marketing system. I think one of the things is like, at the end of the day, a lot of what people will tell you, there's so many different opinions on how to run social media. And there's so many different like perspectives on like what works and what doesn't, because it's not an exact science. It always changes. It's constantly changing. There's things that work 1 minute and then don't work the next. And it's different than any other marketing landscape that's out there. And it's a monster, it's a beast. But one thing I have learned is there's a few tried and true things that tend to always work. It's just a matter of as what they look like as to how it works specifically. So I just want to kind of like lay down, I have like 3 different points I just want to lay down for you guys real quick that are things that I've learned in the last 4 years, things that since I started up till now have always proven correct and have seen success. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's great to create content. It's great to like post on social media and do these things. It's another thing to actually like have efficient results. That's like the number one thing a lot of businesses, a lot of people trying to create their own brands will try things and it's like, it doesn't work. And it's like the value of the system's only as good as if you know how to use it, right? It's like LeBron James with a basketball is much more valuable than me with a basketball. I'm garbage at basketball. So if you would hand me one, I'm not going to be in the NBA, but like LeBron James, he has a basketball. It's much more valuable to him. It's worth millions and millions of dollars because he knows what he's doing with it. If you know how to use social media, it's worth a lot more than if you're just trying to like mess around with it. Knowledge is the key when it comes to it. So the biggest thing is like when you get into the social media world and you want to start creating content, whether it's on a brand page or it's your own personal page, and you're just trying to get into your own network of your peers and people around you. The biggest core thing is like really, really, really trying to be authentic and be you. You want to identify like what it is that you can offer to the world. A lot of people might say like, there's this XYZ, like these are the things that you should create content on all the time. If you're in the nutrition space, maybe you're always making like nutritional content, but that's not always the case. In fact, you can even be creating content that's in the space that's super not you, but you have knowledge on, but you're targeting an audience that you're really wanting to target with what it is that you're either selling or what it is that you're trying to communicate to them, whatever your important message is. I'll give you a great example. For some people, like that could be literally content. People have made massive success at creating content where they're home family vloggers. They don't do anything. They barely go out and they just vlog at home and their kids are playing with toys. And like, it's a 20-minute video of their kids playing with toys. And that's their content. But then they go for, at the end of the video, they're like, hey, if you like this video, want to support what we're doing, check out this thing that we sell, and then they get the audience of people that like care about their family and want their family to be healthy. And, they might sell a nutrition product, or they might even just be selling t-shirts. Who knows what it is? But like, it's always different things. Or there's people who like have major success in like fish bait. There's people that do that. They blog about fish bait and make videos about fish bait. Like, it's super weird and niche, but people do that. And then they just, sell and they monetize in whatever way they can. And so I think it's really important to identify what it is you offer. Maybe you're a phenomenal cook. And so what you can offer is like phenomenal recipes. There's some people, like when it comes to like nutrition, for example, some people don't like nutrition, but they want to be healthy. I'm a great example of that. I hate nutrition. It bores the crud out of me, but I know I want to be healthy. For example, I was really upset when I found out that LaCroix was no longer healthy. And so now I'm trying out Bubbly, which is really good, by the way. If someone out there were to make a content that said like, right as soon as like LaCroix blows up as this unhealthy thing, like if you started making like a YouTube video or a Facebook video that says, well, LaCroix is out, so what are the next options? Like what are the 5 top sparkling waters out there that I should, that you should try? And that would be perfect timing, because that's another thing about content. It's all about timing. You look at what's going on in the marketplace and what people are talking about, the buzz is about, and then create content around that. But I care about that. Even though I don't do a lot in the nutrition field, I care about not drinking immense amounts of soda when I create that carbonation. So there's things like that, or there might be, maybe it is you create food, or maybe it is you create stuff for your family, or you talk about different like nutritional options. But I think the biggest thing is you got to figure out what's you. The one thing that a lot of people will detect like it's nothing is BS. Don't try to fake who you are. Don't try to become something you're not. Don't try to teach something you don't know about. Do what you know. And that can be anything. If you're like, well, I don't know anything about this field. Well, maybe your thing is like, I don't know, you're really good at taking photos. Like, then find, I don't know, crazy, awesome, maybe find someone who knows how to cook, or maybe you just find different things that you can take photos of and just create like a culture of a different type of vibe, right? Like I know I have some friends who take very LA, bright pastels and orange color pictures, and their whole Instagram is just a feed of beautiful photos, and they're building a huge following off of that. That is attracting a lot of 20 to 30-year-old women who care about their health. They're all West Coast people that care about their health. And, there's like a movement of it here, right? So now they have the attention of these people. If they were to sell like Juice Plus, or if they were to sell a nutrition product, whatever it is, those people would buy, which actually brings me to my second point. After you identify what you are, be yourself, be genuine, be real. Don't try to be someone you're not, because people will detect that. The second thing is you need to identify what's what we call a jab and a right hook. There's a guy I like to follow. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. He has very profane content. If you ever watch it, he loves the F-bomb. But he's very good at what he does. He's very life-giving in his message, actually. He's the only guy I know that can say an F-bomb and actually feel like he's building you up. But it's kind of weird, but what he does is he's actually in the space of social media. He has an 800-person agency he built over 6 years, where he works with a bunch of Fortune 500 companies and other businesses trying to market them in the social media space, in the digital space. And he wrote a book a few years back called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the idea was you can't just go around like a used car salesman always saying, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. Every piece of content can't always be a, hey, buy this now. Obviously, once you establish like a really strong value, you can actually maybe have a segment within your video where you say like, hey, just so you know, if you want to support what I do, if you like this content, this is something I sell, this is something I do. If you want to become part of it, please help. But the biggest key there is being, again, genuine about what you are delivering. So when you go for what we call a right hook, which is when you ask your audience for something, you need to tell them what you're doing. Don't try to be shady about it. Because again, people read into that and they're like, people don't like to be sold to. But if they already care about you because the content you're creating has brought them value, whether it's you taught them something that doesn't require them to buy something from you. Because I think one of the things I see a lot too is like, people will create something, but they'll teach you how to do something, whatever. But to do it, you got to buy their product. And that's like, that's kind of like a run around the system. But no, you got to be as genuine as you can. How can they do something without your product, because then now you don't have a stake in what you're giving to them. You're just giving value. And now you're building equity with them and you're building trust, and they care about you and your message. And from that point, you can then go for the right hook, which is, you've been jabbing, you've been giving them value. And the right hook is the ask. It's the, hey, guess what? I know you like my content, but I also do things that allow me to make a living off doing this. If you would like to support that, if you're willing to do that, I also believe in this product, or I believe in this thing. And for some people, it's literally they just sell t-shirts. Other people, they monetize, if they're big content creators and like that's their thing is content creation, then what they do is they'll like ask for people to donate to them. But if your goal is really just to sell a product, or your goal is to build equity around a type of product and then to sell it, then what you do is you just really gotta be upfront with them when you're doing that, and don't try to beat around the bush with it. And it's okay to do that. Like just say like, hey, if you like what I've been doing, this is something I do as well. I believe in this thing. I believe in this product. I believe in this. This is going to change your life. And then you can go for your sales pitch and be just straight up about it. When you're selling, sell. When you're not selling, don't sell. Just be genuine about it, because people, they don't like the BS. They don't like the shadiness. They don't like the workaround. People read into that. Sometimes does it work? Sure, it does. But it has a short road. Eventually it's going to run out. So that's the first thing, like I said, is identify what your goals are, or I'm sorry, your offering, your expertise, your value. Second is the jabs and right hooks, the difference between the two. And the third is cutting out the spam. And what that means is, this is kind of a two-part. So going back to the value, sometimes we deliver content that we think is value, but value is a perceived thing. So I might be creating content and learn that people aren't engaging on a type of content that I create. I might create, you might be creating, maybe you're creating all this like home life stuff, and people love your home life stuff. But then you create this little like, how to make this little food thing. And that doesn't do really well. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't continue to do that kind of content. If the content's good and maybe you're reaching a different audience and just your main audience doesn't like it, that's great. But a lot of these places like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, they have deep analytics that you can actually see if you learn it. And if you're not sure how to do it, just literally Google like how to use Facebook analytics, or how to learn more about who's watching my videos on Facebook or on YouTube. You can actually see when people are dropping off your content, or how long they're watching your videos for. And if most of you people are only watching it for 3 seconds and they're like, I don't care about this, you might be learning something about your audience that they don't like that. And there's other videos they're watching for the whole 5 minutes. It's like, I need to make more of that content because they care about that. They'll watch the whole thing. So what you want to do is just cut out the stuff that isn't really doing much. Now, that isn't to say that you can't improve that content and make it better and make your audience care about it more, if that's the kind of content you want to make. But just be aware that value is always perceived. And then also, this is a big one that I see, and the final part of that cut out the spam point, which is, if you're not a graphic designer, try to be careful with doing graphics. The reason why I say that is because there's a lot of psychology behind graphic design. And what I see from a lot of people is they post a lot of graphics, a lot of graphics. And, but they don't really understand, they don't understand how Facebook's compression works, where they like make your graphics look really pixely and bad. They don't understand how files work, PNGs versus JPEGs versus, TIFFs and all these other things that come into graphic design. Should it be 1500 by 1500 or 3000 by 3000 pixels? Like all the details, RGB versus CMYK. If you don't know all that stuff, if you don't know and understand that system, just be very careful when posting graphics. I'm not saying don't do it at all. But sometimes I see people posting nothing but graphics. The first thing is those graphics typically are right hooks. They're always asks, and they're always asking for stuff. They're like the used car salesman. Those don't work. Not only does there's an algorithm on these systems that like will read that, you have nothing but text on this image, it's spam, I'm not going to even let people see it. But then even if they do see it, it's typically not going to work. So like I said, if you're not a graphic designer, just, don't try to be what you're not. And it's okay if your photos aren't like the craziest, like composed shots, and your stuff isn't like this super fancy video and this amazing, like, whoa, but like, if you just light it a little well, maybe shoot it during the day, and you're just genuine and you're yourself and you identify what you're good and not good at, you're going to build an audience. Some, it may be slower than others. But like I said, there's people who make full-on livings talking about fish bait. And I can guarantee you those guys do not have a creative expertise that allows them to light pictures and photos and all that stuff, videos properly. But they know what they're good at and they stick to that. They stick to their guns. So that's the things. Identify your value. Jabs and right hooks, know the difference. And identify your right hooks when they're coming. Know when you want to ask for stuff and build up to it. And then cut out the spam. Just try to really identify what's not working, what's not good, what people don't care about. And also don't do things that like aren't you. Don't try to create content that isn't your thing to create. I think those 3 things, if you can get those down pretty well, you're in a pretty good space to start building a following and to start building your brand to whatever it is you want to build success in your area. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. That was so good. I had some really good takeaways. I'm going to have to rewatch this to make sure I write notes because I don't have a pen and paper at the moment, but that was really good. And I have to say, for someone like Michelle and I think a lot of our team says like, how'd you guys get good at social media? These kind of things. And the reality is that we've been just doing a lot of what Caleb just shared, a lot of trial and erroring and figuring out what works. But even for myself, I took a lot away. So I super appreciate you coming on and sharing all that. I definitely have some tweaking I need to make.
And I want to add one little thing there because something you just said made me think of this. Also know that you might be more critical than your audience is about some of your content. I sometimes look at my content, I'm like, wow, I suck at vlogging and things like that, but my audience has shown different. The reception and what people say about my stuff is different than what I think about my stuff. So pay attention to what the audience says because your content may be better than what you're thinking, but just really listen to the audience.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Love it.
Perfect. Thanks, Caleb.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You want to introduce the next speaker, Casey?
Yes. All right, guys. So it's all about the millennials tonight, really coming out, the young guns. So Caleb got to share. He's 26. Our next speaker is 25 years old. She actually recorded a short and sweet social media training for us. Her name is Emily Kozlowski. She lives in the St. Louis area, and she's a qualified national marketing director and just killing it. And I'll let her video share that.
Let me get it. All right. Can you see it? Let's see.
I'm so excited to be sharing on your guys' call tonight. If you guys don't know me, my name's Emily Kozlowski. I am a 25-year-old qualifying national marketing director with the Juice Plus company, and I'm just really excited to come to you guys today and share really what's working for not only me, but for our team. This month we've added over 15 reps, and it's just really exciting to see the simple duplication that's happening. And I want to break that down for you guys. A lot of people look at me in the business as the social media guru. I majored in marketing and advertising, but let me tell you guys, I don't know any secrets that that isn't teachable or duplicatable. It's all very simple. Just because I have a degree in marketing and advertising doesn't mean that I'm doing these magic things behind the scenes. So I want to share with you guys just really 4 steps to success and duplication that our team is having, and I think it will help you guys. So if you're note takers like me, you guys can take notes on these 4 steps and share this video with your new team members, because we
Sorry, it got kind of grainy, so I'm gonna
like to keep things simple because that's how duplication happens. So number 1 is attraction. How are you adding value and attracting others into your life? So for me, this looks like sharing my story over and over and over again. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see that I really share my story over and over again, and in different ways, but it's still my same story. So my story is, I was introduced to juice. I was introduced to really whole food and this healthy community when I was in college. I was an avid runner. I was training for half and full marathons. I was getting sick all the time. I was physically fit, but not nutritionally fit. So I could run 26 circles around you, but I was getting sick all the time. So I kind of hit this roadblock. I was introduced to this, and now my life looks completely different. I haven't been on a single antibiotic or medication in over 5.5 years. And I feel so much better, you guys, because when we know better, we do better. So that's my short story in 30 seconds. But how many times can I share that? How many times can I connect my story to that? And obviously that's my product story, but my business story is I walked away from normal at the age of 21. I graduated college and I said I was going to work this business full time. I'm an all in or all out kind of person. So I go all in. If I say yes, I'm going to go all in. So how many times can I share that story? So as far as attraction goes, how are you adding value and attracting others to your life? So for me, that's sharing my story, living life out loud on social media. I believe that social media is an attraction tool. It's not an education tool. So we attract people on social media through our lifestyle, through what we're doing, our everyday life. We're just being authentic. So that's number one, is attraction. Number two is next steps. So when you're sharing these stories, when you're sharing your lifestyle, when you're being out loud on social media, people are going to reach out. You're going to reach out to people. It's going to be a two-way street. We're going to connect and we're going to have relationships, right? So the next step, number two, is called next steps. And it's because we're all about connecting people to the next thing, right? Then, sharing a video resource with them, connecting them to a call, connecting them on a three-way call. But hold on with the three-way call, because that comes in a little bit later. So next step is really the next exposure, right? So we think if we are sharing our story, it's really just to attract people in and connect with them. So you can call this connection/next step, because it's all about educating them on really what we do, whether that be like I said, sharing a video and or connecting them into an event of some sort. So next steps, however you guys look at next step. Number three is following up. So we hear this all the time. You guys, the fortune is in the follow-up. So schedule the follow-up, ask for feedback. The fortune is in the follow-up, and there's no point of reaching out or even sharing your stories like this if we're not committing to following up. So for me, I like scheduling the follow-up, and so I don't send a video unless I know when they're going to watch it. So let's say I send someone a video and I just say, hey, it's 5 minutes, when do you think you can watch it? And they're like, oh, probably not till tomorrow morning. I work tonight and I've got a lot of stuff going on. So I say, great, I'll send it over now, and I'll touch base with you in the morning. So I still send it, but I schedule the follow-up. That way I know when I'm touching base. And you guys, this is not being annoying. This is not being salesy. This is being professional. This is how we do business, because if we don't know when to follow up, then we get naggy, then we get salesy, and if we don't follow up, we are becoming a salesman. So just know that following up is being professional. And number four, finally, is three-way call. So this whole 4 steps to success is getting down to the three-way call, because after getting feedback and following up and asking clarifying questions, you're going to connect them into a three-way call to answer any other questions and get them started. So the three-way call can be with your upline, your sideline, your downline, a friend, it doesn't matter, but it's getting them that third-party validation. We call them like the JP A-mentor. But get an A-mentor on the phone, get that third party on the phone, sometimes even have two parties on the phone, 2 other parties, so it's a 4-way call. And I actually heard this in Tampa is our friends are kind of freaking out when we're saying like, hey, we'll do a 3-way call. So you can call it a connection call. You can call it, I call it connection call. Hey, would you be open to connecting on the phone with my friend Casey and I at 2 p.m. today? We'd love to chat with you and answer any questions you may have. So you don't have to call the 3-way call. People that don't know our industry are like, wait, 3-way? What's going on? So I think whatever verbiage you guys want to use, I know some people are calling it a consult call. You can call whatever you guys want, but it's all about getting people on the phone. To be honest with you guys, I teach my team, don't answer too many questions. Get them on the phone. If they've seen a few videos, if they've had enough exposure, get them on the phone for their questions, or else they're going to keep asking questions. And if you don't know how to answer it, you might not be able to connect with them, if they don't answer. So really get them on the phone, because then your upline can answer questions that you might not know, and there's that third party validation. So I hope this helps. I can just tell you guys that if you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you see that I just share my story a lot. And authentic with people, and I connect with a lot of people. So if you guys are wanting to be successful in this business, it all comes down to the connections and conversations you're having. I teach my team the last thing. I know I said four steps to success, but if you guys want to write down 3 C's that I teach my team is conversations, connections, conversations, and consistency. So connections is having the connections, relationships, meeting people, getting in rooms that you're going to be meeting new people. Number 2 is the conversation. So have that conversation, get outside of your comfort zone, text them when you leave the event or wherever you met them and say, it was so good meeting you today. I'm so glad we, got to catch up, or I'm so glad someone connected us, or I'm so glad I ran into you if it's a brand new person. So have the conversation. And then number 3 is be consistent. How many connections can you have a day? Are they real? Are they authentic? Are you sharing what we have? Because you guys, people are praying for a solution to their health and their wealth, and we have both. So we have to be confident. We have to share. We have to share. And when we connect and have conversations, and we stay consistent, success comes. So I hope this helps. I love you guys so much. Y'all are so lucky to be on this team, and thank you guys so much for letting me share on your guys' team call. Hey guys.
All right, so that was another take on social media and how to take Caleb's was more on branding and kind of what to post, and Emily's was really about how to, the process of sharing on social media and how to bring that into customers or team. And then I want to talk really quickly, because we're running low on time, on the differences, the different ways that we are viewing Instagram versus Facebook right now. I know that a lot of us, have been on Facebook longer and then are just moving over to Instagram. And I think it's important to know that the 2 platforms are really meant to be used differently. And that's something that I've kind of had to learn by doing things wrong. You learn and you make mistakes and you kind of revamp and you figure out what works, like Caleb said. So really quickly, they're different platforms, and so they have different purposes. Facebook is really to attract people that you already know or that you have connected with in the past. And Instagram is to attract people primarily that you don't know. So Facebook's warm market, Instagram's cold market. And to have a really strong, thriving business, you need both. And, your cold market doesn't have to be Instagram. It could be talking to someone, your barista at Starbucks, or, your waiter or whatever. But you do need to have both warm and cold market to make this business work long term. So because they're different platforms and they have different purposes, we have to share differently on them. So for things like, for me, what that looks like is on Facebook, I share more personal sentiments. I ask more specific mom questions. I share more minutia in more detail about my intimate family life or my daughter, or, things that my family and my good friends on Facebook want to know that's happening in my life, and they want to come in and support me. Things that maybe people, I share some of the same things as on Instagram, but I feel like I share more things that people that know me and love me would want to know about on Facebook. So more just general daily life, pictures of my daughter, what I'm doing. On Instagram, it's more inspiration, more strategic posts, more published pictures that are polished, that are, staged a little bit more, because on Instagram, it's all about the image. It's about, people start following you because they like your pictures. And so pictures are really important. On Facebook, they follow you because you're their friend. On Instagram, they're not your friend. And so you have to give them that bait. You have to give them that reason to follow you. And a lot of times it's because of the pretty pictures or a certain structure of pictures that you use. So a lot of times on Instagram, you'll notice people's feed are all certain types of images or certain colors or certain filters. And so you get to really create more of a brand on Instagram that's more creative than typically what you find on Facebook. When you look at engagement for Facebook versus Instagram, Facebook, you're going to see more engagement by tagging people and comments. Having comments on your post is what really drives engagement. Instagram, it's tagging and comments both drive engagement as well, but it's also hashtags. And so one thing that I do is I have on my notes on my phone, I have a note that has 5 or 6 different categories for my posts that I typically do. And in my categories, I have, Casey might know how many hashtags they allow you to use, but in my categories, I have hashtags based on like ones like healthy moms. Like this post, I'm trying to attract healthy moms. So I have all hashtags about like crunchy mom, holistic mom, healthy mama, plant-based mom. Like I have all these like, healthy mom hashtags. And then I might have one that's just like plant-based food. So it might be like vegan and gluten-free and dairy-free and, those type of hashtags. And the way that I find my hashtags, you can Google like, best hashtags for nutrition or healthy living or whatever. But you can also just go through and find people on Instagram that you like following that have great content, that have a lot of followers, and see what hashtags they use. And I just screenshot people's hashtags, and then I go through and I find the ones that are appropriate for me. And so that's a really easy way. Casey, do you know how many hashtags they let you use on Instagram?
I was just kind of, as you're asking, there really isn't. If you're doing it within your post, I've not personally experienced any like limit on hashtags. I have seen, however, that people, and this is something I've learned about Instagram, that if you're doing hashtags, you should do them within your post, that doing hashtags after your post actually comes across really spammy. And more times than not, I find a lot of people have issues doing a second post with hashtags. It won't upload for some reason. So I think there's something in
the comments, they have a limit, and I just don't know how many that is.
Yes, and so you're better off just doing hashtags in your post versus in the.
Yeah. The only time I don't is if I am wanting to share from Instagram to Facebook, and I don't want like all the hashtags on Facebook, then I'll go and put them in a comment. So, kind of goes both ways unless you want to edit the post. So you want to come up with hashtag categories around the people, the type of people, and the type of topics that you want to attract. So for me, mine are like healthy moms, wellness, plant-based eating, and entrepreneurs. Like those are some of the categories that I have. So I have one hashtag that's all like boss babe and boss mom and CEO mama and like, all these ones about trying to attract people who are looking at that kind of stuff. The next is Instagram. The bio is really important. That tells people like what your page is about. And Casey sent me a great training on this, and I will post it in our I think I've done it before, but I'll repost it in our Team Plant Strong Facebook page. Instagram consistent look and feel is very important. Instagram stories and highlights are very important. I would say more so than Facebook. And I have a tutorial article on how to create the highlight covers, the little circles that are the highlights, the cover photos. I have a little article on how to do that I will also post in our team Facebook page. But basically, in Instagram, your stories are a way to go deeper. I look at my pictures on Instagram as a way just to initially attract someone, and my stories are how they get to know me, how the authenticity comes across. I do more stories within my pictures. Like if it's a picture of my food or a picture of my daughter, I tell a story, a short story, but I try to tell a story so they get to know me, because these are people that don't know me, right? And so I try to talk about how, it's fall time and I'm using butternut squash because, it's in season. And, people that don't know me are like, oh, she cares about eating healthy food. She cares about seasonal eating, plants. They start to gather a little story about me as I'm talking about this. And so I like to do recipes in my story. And like, as I'm making food, I'll just take pictures or little videos on my phone of the food that as I'm making it. And then I can create a story later, like that night or a lot of times I take pictures of stuff and I don't post it right away on Instagram because I want to think it through. I want it to be strategic, or I want to get the best shot or the best filter on it. And I can't do that in my normal life. So for Instagram, a lot of my posts are more, I take it throughout the day, and then I might use that content the next day or the next day, and I just have it pre-loaded in my phone, so I have some time to really be more strategic. And then on both platforms, it's important to add value, like Caleb talked about. Tips, a lot of us do a Well Wednesday post, live videos showing people how to do things about, recipes, quotes, ideas, asking questions questions. I love asking questions. So many times I ask questions like mom questions, and I don't really need an answer, but it's such a great way to get people to engage in your posts because other moms love sharing tips or what they did for teething, you know? And so it's just a great way to get engagement. And then taking polls. I like using polls on social media, on the stories on Instagram. It's a great way to find people who are looking for what you have to offer. And then following up with them on Instagram, you can see who likes your poll, you know, who responds to your poll. And you can follow up with them in a message, and the same for Facebook. And then both require that you engage in other people's content. You can't just be only posting. You also have to hone in on some people that you're trying to attract, and go and like their post and comment on their post and get to know them. Especially on Instagram, you've got to start to develop a friendship through commenting, which can be, you know, it can take a longer period of time. I think Casey and I were talking about this earlier, that, you know, Facebook is more immediate because you have rapport. Instagram is a longer game, but you can find some really awesome people, but you're having to build rapport. You're having to build a relationship through an avenue where you've never met someone. And then lastly, you know, it's just about consistency. It's just doing, you know, using these ideas and using these, you know, the framework that we've given you tonight, and to try it out and take, you know, from whatever piece that you found helpful, start trying just one thing new. It can be overwhelming to just go from 0 to 60, but if you found something tonight that seems intriguing to you, take one thing and implement it and try it out for a few weeks. Then take another thing and implement it. Nobody expects you to go from 200 followers to 2,000 followers overnight, but you can slowly start to get more followers. And really what we've started to see, it doesn't matter how many or how many followers you have on Instagram, it matters how many people are actually engaging in your posts. So even if you only have 100 followers and you get 100 comments every time, that's better than having 1,000 followers and only getting like 2 comments on every post. So that's all I got. Casey, do you have any last things you want to add?
No, I think that was spot on.
Cool. Does anyone have questions before we close out?
This is your chance to get feedback on your social media.
You can also, you know, you can go to me or Casey or someone in your upline and say, hey, will you look at my Instagram? Hey, will you look at my Facebook? Can you tell me, you know, a few things that I could do better, or a few things that you would tweak? Because that's kind of, I mean, we're not experts, but we're definitely studying it and learning and trying to, you know, always get better. So. All right. Well, y'all have a great evening, and hope you have a really productive end of the month. Qualifiers Day is going to be on Thursday, November 1st. So make sure you have all your stuff wrapped up for qualifying, for promotions, HLPs, 2,000 pluses, done by the 1st so that you can get your bonuses in November. All right. Have a great night. Bye, guys.